Welcome back to the show. Well, if you're like me, your sleep was probably a roller coaster ride through the holidays. I was saying to somebody, if I don't set an alarm, I probably will sleep 10 to 12 hours. So some of us need more help than others, and especially young people and especially parents out there. Kim Davis is a certified pediatric sleep consultant. Welcome back to the show, Kim. Great to have you.
Really nice to be back.
Happy New Year to you and your family.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about the importance of sleep, in particular because you work with parents with young children, right? Infants,
Yes.
babies. How important is that sleep pattern for infants and babies?
Oh, if children aren't sleeping, that means parents are not sleeping. So, so it's a big deal in the household. We went through that with my son, and it's challenging, right? That family dynamics changes, and it's when the child isn't sleeping, no one's sleeping. So that's what becomes super important. You need to focus on exactly what's going on and the cause of those wakings, the cause of why that child is not going to sleep. And once you find that cause, then you can start seeing that success.
Well, there's a great start to our conversation then. How do you figure out that cause?
Right. So in regards to, getting sleep back on track after the holidays, our schedules are all over the place. You've been invited to different places. There's movie nights, there's sleepovers. My daughter had a sleepover. I'm not going to tell you what time they went to bed because it doesn't reflect very well on me as a sleep consultant, but she had a lovely time. But all those different things, they play havoc on our schedule and especially our sleep. So we need to focus on getting that restorative sleep during the day for the babies in particular and toddlers as well if they're still napping, and also getting back to that schedule before the holidays because it's so easy to just kind of slip away and bedtime gets a little bit later and then you're looking at like 10 o'clock and then all of a sudden they go back to school and you're like, whoa, now we don't have enough sleep to get them through the day. So it's super important to focus on things that we're working before the holidays and get them back on track.
And that's a struggle for parents. I mean, I'm not even going to say it as my experience as a parent. More my experience as being a child and my parents going nuts, trying to get me to bed, right? It's a struggle.
Those bedtime battles.
Yeah, so what recommendations do you have to help counteract that bedtime battle?
Bedtime battles. Again, you want to look at the cause. What's the cause of that bedtime battle? And most of the time, if there's not an underlying health issue, most of the time it's being overtired going to bed. That is the number one cause of bedtime struggles and night wakings as well. So if you can focus on, having that bedtime a little bit earlier, and we'll talk about that, like we could have a whole segment on that, but having that earlier bedtime is super important to get that restorative sleep at night. And during the day, it's really important to focus on that restorative sleep because if you don't have that restorative sleep, so they're naps during the day, bedtime is just going to be atrocious. You're going to see lots of overnight wakings. You're going to see early morning wakes as well, which I am not a morning person at all. So, if your child is waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, that's a really hard time to start your day. And you certainly don't want to do that. So focusing on that schedule and that restorative sleep during the day is super important for parents.
Let's talk about that bedtime process, right? Because it is a process, right?
And protest.
And a protest, yes, you're right. There's washing the hands and the brushing the teeth, and then you get into bed, and then it's the story time. And I guess that's why you're recommending the earlier bedtime because there's all those things leading up to bed.
Absolutely. And the most restorative sleep happens before midnight as well. So that's key for parents. And a lot of the time parents are afraid. They're just petrified of that early bedtime because logically we're thinking, okay, if I place my baby down, at say 6:30 for bed or even earlier, they're going to be up ready to go, ready to start their day at like 4:30. But it doesn't happen that way. But it's not logical, right? We think, okay, we're counting the hours of sleep, okay, there's no possible way. But because we're trying to make up on that restorative sleep that they missed during the day, we have to break that cycle. And the best way and the easiest way to do that is to have that early bedtime. But parents, and I'll be honest, when I started this almost 10 years ago, I was like, there is no way I'm putting my child to bed at 5:30 because they're going to be ready to party at, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But it doesn't happen. They actually sleep in later, which is a blessing, a true blessing.
I want to go back to that nap necessity.
Yes.
Is it an individual thing, Kim? Are all babies and infants different from each other? How do you figure out the nap schedule?
Naps are tricky and naps are hard. And that's what a lot of parents struggle with, is finding that kind of nap window. And there's biological sleep waves that happen during the day. And we really want to focus on the individual baby or the child's circadian rhythms, because they're not robots, right? Everybody has different sleep cycles and different things during the day. So we really want to focus on what is best for them. And so following those biological sleep waves during the day is key for restorative sleep. 3 things quickly that we look for. One is that they sleep at least an hour. 2, that there's no wakes in between. And 3, that they wake happy. If you can check all 3 boxes off, that's a restorative nap for a parent. If not, then again, we go back and look at the cause. Well, what was it? Was it because they were overtired going into that sleep cycle? What was the cause? Was there a sleep association that was, you know, they come out of that first sleep cycle and they're like, hey, you rocked me to sleep or you fed me to sleep. I need that exact same thing to go back into the next sleep cycle. So there's a lot of things to focus on, but focusing on that cause is key.
You mentioned, you know, the rocking. I was going to ask you about tools, because now with technology, parents are all over the internet looking for tools, right? What's the thing, you know, the mobile with the latest lights and music that's going to... Are there tools that are good and tools that are bad?
You know, I think you'd have to look at it on an individual basis for that, because, you know, when you're looking at parents being sleep deprived, sometimes you need to do what you need to do to get some sleep safely. That's the key, right? You know, I've used to use all the tricks to just try and get that extra amount of sleep, but again, is that going to correct the problem? Is that going to correct the challenges? Is that the cause? And usually the cause is because they don't know how to fall asleep independently. And so that's what you want to focus on. Those gadgets and stuff will work temporarily, but then again, it's just going to come back. And there's a honeymoon stage with all of the gadgets. And parents are thinking, yay, I found it. No, usually not. And then we go back and we try and find out, okay, what else is going on? And you know, I keep saying the cause, but that's truly what you want to look at. Focus on that cause.
You work, you know, one-on-one with clients or two-on-one with parents sort of thing. How do they get in touch with you, Kim?
Through my website is the easiest way, so babesandbeyond.com, and there's a contact us little form that they fill out, and away we go.
Terrific. Thanks so much for being here, Kim.
Thank
you. Really
you.
appreciate it. We'll be back with more right after this. Don't go anywhere.